Pace e bene, peace and good. Sì, a tutti, yes to all. O Francesco, O Chiara, O Francis, O Claire. I'll sing a line, just sing it right back. pace bene, pace bene, pace bene, pace bene, pace bene, pace bene. Did you all hear the wild George?
Good evening.
Good to see you. I thought I heard your voice tonight, and that was right. It was you.
I'm only an apparition.
Yeah.
Fooled you all.
Everyone, this is George. Good to see you, George. Did you all hear the wild geese today? Did you hear them, George? You did?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently George and I were the only ones that heard the wild geese. I'm not sure if that means we're losing it or not, but it was a delight. I only saw 2 of them. Did you see any, George?
There's been a flock.
A flock, okay. I saw maybe the stragglers then. And it was gorgeous sound, and as Mary Oliver would say, harsh and wild and exciting, these wild geese. So I thought tonight we would listen to 2 sources. One is the poem by Mary Oliver called The Wild Geese. And Tim, if you'd be so kind as to bring up that poem. Anybody not hears that poem, doesn't know what The Wild Geese? No? Okay. Well, it's a goodie. And but then the other source I thought we would listen to tonight is, because we've spent Thursday night to this morning in silence, as far as I know anyway. And it was the first time that we've done this, Thursday night to Saturday morning in silence. I think it's really good for us to reflect on what is silence. And so I thought we'd read a little bit, talk a little bit, and then close with a poem. This is from Miss Barbara J. Miller.
Well,
That'd be you.
it might be.
It could be, maybe.
I thought I recognized the book.
Yeah. So we'll just read a little bit of this and pass it around, and each person can maybe take a few lines and paragraph if you wish. The title of the book is Into the Silent Land. Into the Silent Land, a guide to the Christian practice of contemplation, by Martin Laird. Martin Laird. And I'll just read a little bit and then I'll pass it around. Introduction. God, our homeland. God, our homeland. And then he quotes from St. Augustine, the City of God. We must fly to our beloved homeland. We are built for contemplation. This book is about cultivating the skills necessary for this subtlest, simplest, and most searching of the spiritual arts. Communion with God in the silence of the heart is a God-given capacity. Like the rhododendron's capacity to flower, the fledgling's for flight, and the child's for self-forgetful abandon and joy. If the grace of God that suffuses and simplifies the vital generosity of our lives does not consummate this capacity while we live, then the very arms of God that embrace us as we enter the transforming mystery of death will surely do so. So the good news is, if we don't get it in this life, we'll get it in the next. Okay, where's that? Where was that? Okay. This self-giving God, the being of our being, the life of our life, sometimes I refer to God as the love of all loves, has joined to God's self 2 givens of human life. We are built to commune with God, and we will all meet death. So, on that note, whether we discover.
discover the unum necessarium, the one thing necessary, Luke 10:42, during the time we are given in our lives, or whether this realization comes to us only as it came to Tolstoy's Ivan Ilyich, who finally reconciled with his sad, misshapen life so that he could move through death, exclaimed in joy at his great discovery, "And death, where is it? There is no more death." God is our homeland, and the homing instinct of the human being is honed on God. As St. Augustine put it, we must fly to our beloved homeland. There the Father is, and there is everything.
This book is guided by a practical concern to offer guidance and encouragement for increasing our familiarity with this homeland that grounds our very selves. In his maxims on love, St. John of the Cross says, "The Father spoke one word, which was his Son, and this word he speaks always in eternal silence, and in silence must be heard by the soul." In his letter 7, the same Spanish friar says, "Our greatest need is to be silent before this great God, for the only language he hears is the silent language of love." Silence is an urgent necessity for us. Silence is necessary if we are to hear God speaking in eternal silence. Our own silence is necessary if God is to hear us. Silence is necessary because, as Maggie Ross boldly puts it, salvation is about silence.
These mutual silences are the terrain of the silent land. But unlike other landscapes, there is no definitive map of this land of silence. John of the Cross, one of the greatest cartographers of the spiritual life, indicates this at the beginning of his own attempt to map this silence in the ascent of Mount Carmel. Before the work begins, John gives us a line drawing of what his book is to be about. He sketches Mount Carmel as a spiritual mountain, a symbol of the soul. Not too far up the base of the mountain, he has written, "Here there is no longer any way, because for the just man there is no law. He is a law unto himself." John is not advocating any sort of lawlessness, just do as you like lifestyle. Rather, he is indicating the intrinsically unchartable nature of silence. Pauline Matrasso captures the essence of this in her poem, Inside Out.
I look towards silence. It is not, as I had heard, a peak, with natural footholds and cramped ones left, but better climbers. Contrary to what they say, there is no map. They may be speaking of another place. There is only surrender. We enter the land of silence by the silence of surrender, and there is no map of the silence that is surrender. There are skills, however, by which we learn to dispose ourselves to surrender and thus to discover this uncharted land. Moreover, there is the communal support of fellow pilgrims, living and dead, whose wisdom comes to us in countless writings and through innumerable acts of compassion, and who teach us what it means to walk by faith, not by sight. This book is concerned with some of these skills and how the Christian tradition suggests we might cultivate them through the practice of silence.
The practice of silence, what I shall call contemplative practice, or simply practice, cannot be reduced to a spiritual technique. Techniques are all the rage today. They suggest a certain control that aims to determine a certain outcome. They clearly have their place, but this is not what contemplative practice does. The difference may be slight, but it is an important one. A spiritual practice simply disposes us to allow something to take place. For example, a gardener does not actually grow plants. A gardener practices certain garden skills that facilitate growth that is beyond the gardener's direct control. In a similar way, a sailor cannot produce the necessary wind that moves a boat. A sailor practices sailing skills that harness the gift of the wind that brings the sailor home, but there is nothing that the sailor can do to make the wind blow. And so, it is with contemplative practice, not a technique, but a skill. The skill required is interior silence.
There are two contemplative practices of fundamental importance in the Christian tradition. The practice of stillness, also called meditation, still prayer, contemplative prayer, etc., and the practice of watchfulness or awareness. These contemplative skills are not imports from other religious traditions, and the Christian contemplative tradition has a lot to say about them. While other religious traditions also have important things to say about each of these, this book will stay within the Christian tradition and address especially those who look to the Christian tradition for guidance and inspiration along the contemplative path.
The specific focus of this book will be on the practical struggles many face when we carry and try to be silent. The inner chaos going on in our heads, like some wild cocktail party of which we find ourselves the embarrassed host. Often, however, we are not even aware of how utterly dominating this inner noise is until we try to enter through the doorway of silence.
The first two chapters will set the scene for these practical considerations. Chapter 1 will announce the foundational assumption that union with God is not something we are trying to acquire. God is already the ground of our being. It is a question of realizing this is our lives. Chapter 2 presents a perspective on why most of us spend most of our lives more or less ignorant of this. It is precisely this noisy, chaotic mind that keeps us ignorant of the deeper reality of God as the ground of our being. This ignorance is pervasive and renders us like the proverbial deep sea fisherman who spends his life fishing for minnows while standing on a wheel.
Could you read that last sentence again, please? That was good.
Standing on what?
This ignorance is pervasive and renders us like the proverbial deep sea fisherman who spends his life fishing for minnows while standing on a wheel.
On a whale.
Oh,
Right. That's a great image. Yeah. Thank you. Any immediate thoughts come to mind after reading that text?
But he's really good at saying what it is that we're looking for.
What are we looking for?
What he said. Really? Okay, trying to uncover the ground of our being and find the God self that's there.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
It seemed to say that those of us who have tried to be good listeners are wasting our time.
Can you say more about that, George?
No, it's just an indication of the silence that should be within that is not communicated.
So what is interior silence? What is it? How do you describe it? Anybody?
Well, it said something about it not being a technique.
Yeah.
And that's the curious thing about it. You just sit down and think you want to be silent. And something else kind of takes you there. And I was just thinking today, after all these years of practicing meditation, that empty space keeps evolving. That somehow it gets a little more still, a little more broad or sweet. But I still really don't have anything to say about it, and you just sit and wait for it to come.
Where it allows me really to meditate, and my mind has to be shut off. My body be still, but my spirit needs to be still as well.
Is it possible to shut off the mind, Michael?
It's possible. Yes, it is possible. It's not an easy task to shut off the mind. I believe that when your mind is off, it's really your spirit taking over.
Mhm.
So it might be running a program in the background.
Background program running. Yeah. What's another word that the Buddhists, or phrase the Buddhists use to describe that?
Monkey mind.
Monkey mind. Right. All over the place. And other thoughts?
To use the same imagery as the author, it's like you're the embarrassed host of this chaotic, wild cocktail party. But
Great
if you
image.
sit there long enough, eventually all the guests go away,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have silence, or closer to it.
Do you have some thoughts on this, Jean Marie?
My curiosity was sparked by George saying that, did you say that it said we can't be good listeners in silence?
No, I said we've wasted a lot of time trying to become good listeners,
I see.
because the silence should be what is prevailing, so that there's no listening to occur.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense.
Any other thoughts? Yeah, you look like you're being thoughtful.
Yeah, it's just thinking about how hard it is to, I think, clear the mind and
Right.
not. So even just when I'm by myself and I try and clear my thoughts, I just end up thinking and going down rabbit holes a lot of
Yeah.
times, and yeah, I'm just kind of struggling with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that struggle. And that's part of what the author referred to, right? The ongoing struggle.
Mm-hmm.
What if interior silence is actually presence? Does that make any sense to you?
If interior silence was present,
Actually, presence with a capital P.
presence. Uh-huh.
Interior silence equals presence with an with a capital P. I'm sorry, I have to draw all my letters even if I say it.
That sounds right.
Kind of like, what would be a good analogy? If I wanted to go swimming in the depths of the ocean, how do I do that? What do I need to do that? What would keep me from doing that? At some point, I would need to actually take the plunge, right? And dive in or jump in, and allow myself to sink down into the depths of this ocean. I'm not making it up. I'm experiencing what's already there in the depths. I'm entering into a place. I have this fantasy, by the way. You know, when I was a little kid, I used to watch Sea Hunt with Lloyd Bridges. Okay, most of you are not old enough to remember this, but if you know, Jeff Bridges, the actor, his dad, Lloyd Bridges, used to come on once a week and take us down into the depths of the ocean. And he used to put on his mask and his tanks, and the feet would go, and away he'd go into the depths of the ocean. And my fantasy was that I would join him. And I would sit on the bottom of the ocean and just watch these beautiful creatures go by, you know. And occasionally there might be one of them that I'd have to, you know, swim away from. But most of the time I was just there sitting, like you're sitting, but on the bottom in the depths of the ocean. Just enjoying the presence that is there. I think that's what the author is getting at when he speaks about interior silence for us. That God is present in the depths of our own hearts. And if we go there, we will experience the divine presence, the reality of God in the depths. Now, does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good place to stop. We'll close. Oh, let's close with the poem. So this poem is, to me, one of the greatest reminders of how to get there, how to go into the depths of our own hearts. And so let's just hear the poem. If we want to comment on it, we can. This is Mary Oliver, The Wild Geese.
Wild geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
Okay. Somebody else care to read that poem? Have a second reading?
Wild geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
Any thoughts on that? pain, you do not have to be good. She's saying.
Maybe not to judge the way you are, the things you love, just let yourself love them.
This is one of those poems that I would suggest you memorize and internalize, keep for life, and refer to often. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Just like the wild geese, there's something in the wild geese that when I looked up, I saw them flying together, lovely duo, they're in the sky, going to wherever they're going. They know, right, how to be geese. Right? Nobody has to tell them. They don't have to go to school to become a goose, right? They're geese. And in the same way, we human beings have something with a capital S within our depths and our hearts that is our divine guidance, the presence that guides us, maybe not through the sky, but through this earth, the rest of our lives, if we listen, if we take the time to go into that place within our own hearts of silence, that interior space that is full of love within ourselves. Good luck with that. We'll close for the song. This is a little poetic text. When the night is fallen, F-A-L-L-E-N, and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us. Faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us, faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us, faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide At the close of this day, we give you thanks for your great love for all peoples everywhere, and for your presence in the depths of our hearts that guides us like the wild geese. May it be so.